Welcome to the Leadership Lounge, where real leaders spill the real tea. I'm Cindy Hook, and every week we're pulling back the curtain on the wins, the stumbles, and the wild ride to the top. From bold ideas to behind-the-scenes lessons, it's all here, unfiltered, inspiring, and full of real-world wisdom. So grab your coffee, get comfy, and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Leadership Lounge. I'm Cindy Hook, and this podcast is all about honest conversations, the kind where we trade polished speeches for real stories. Leadership, after all, isn't lived in press releases or LinkedIn posts, but in the messy, meaningful moments that define us. Each episode will sit with leaders who've walked the walk, stumble, and stood up again, and see what can all learn from their journey, what we all can learn from the journey. Today, I'm delighted to share the mic with Troy Hooper, CEO, Hot Palate America, who is the parent company of Pepper Lunch Restaurant. That is a mouthful. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Cindy. Appreciate it.
So my listeners all want to know your journey. So can you just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I was born into this industry. My father owned construction companies, one of which specialized in bars, restaurants, and nightclubs. I spent most of my life on the construction site or at the bar of a bar, restaurant, and nightclub. He loved to have a good time, throw a good party, and be involved in the industry. I thought I'd be an architect because of that side of the business, but I actually went over to the other side and became a chef. I went to culinary school at 17 years old and started working in restaurants at 16 years old. Like many, I started as a busboy at Bennigan's, the competitor to Fridays at the time,
Yeah.
and did that. Worked my way up to expo and kitchen manager, and then I went to culinary school and started working in the kitchen. I spent 6 years achieving executive sous chef of a Michelin-level type restaurant, and then decided to get my business degree and decided to go on the front of the house side and get into management, which led me to a short stint of 6 years, almost 6 years at Procter Gamble. I was recruited in business school to go to Procter Gamble, which actually is one of the best decisions I ever made because it was not hospitality, it was nutrition, and it was medical. And I just got a great business education there. How leadership and how to be a good follower, how to manage up, how to be a good leader, how to run teams. Ultimately, had a team of 362 employees at Procter Gamble in 5 years. I was at the time promoted as the youngest VP at the company, so that was fun. But I kind of burnt out on that, and it wasn't the path that I originally wanted. So I wanted to come back to hospitality. So I came back on the hotel, finer luxury hotel and resort side of the business and management, and worked my way up from there. Ultimately, had a management company. People started asking for consulting and help, and I had a turnaround management company for a number of years that morphed into a restaurant consulting and franchise scaling business firm, which we've had since 2015. And that's how I ended up at Pepper Lunch. Pepper Lunch became a client actually of our company initially, and then asked us basically to be full-time and fully dedicated to the brand. So I came over as CEO and started recruiting some of my existing team and friends in the industry that I trusted. And here we are for almost 3 years. As a matter of fact, the journey began October 20th, 2022. So we're just past the 3 year mark of being over here at Pepper Lunch.
Oh, I love that. That is such a great story. And you know what? I was just talking to another gentleman the other day, and he actually wanted to do a podcast with me of how people can switch their careers, but still be, it's still the same skill set. So
It is.
I think
Look,
that's amazing.
I've been in every kind of restaurant, front and back of the house, every kind of hotel, front and back of the house. I've turned turnaround management, taking toxic and failing businesses in the hospitality space of all kinds, resorts, golf clubs, private city clubs, restaurant groups, etc. And luckily been on the fun side for me, which has been scaling emerging brands like Pepper Lunch. We love to say that it's the biggest little brand you've never heard of. Basically,
Yeah,
550 restaurants in 17 countries, but you've never heard of it, right? So we have a long way to go to dominate the world, but we're on that trajectory now.
I love it. What was one of the hardest career decisions you've had to make and how did it help you?
Yeah, and look, I've done this a couple of times.
Mhm.
I think each time with a little bit more certainty than the first time. But the first time was when I left Procter Gamble. Quite frankly, I was very comfortable. I was sitting in a VP role. I was making a lot of money. I had an unlimited corporate credit card to entertain, and traveling the country and sometimes the world. But it got boring, to be honest with you. It just you achieve a certain level, and and
Mhm.
and and for me, I was offered the next opportunity to run an entire department,
Mhm.
and it would have required me to move to Dayton, Ohio. And it was just kind of a change of life. And I was like,
Yeah.
seeing myself in a blue suit, white shirt, blue tie, no offense to all of my
Yeah.
friends in that space, especially in the 90s and 2000s. But going from sort of the lifestyle change and the corporate, I really basically said, is this what I want to do for the next 20 years of my life? Do I want to report to a
Yeah.
glass building in a blue suit for the next 20 of my years? Look, I'd be retired and a multimillionaire if I had done that already.
Yeah.
But sort of chasing the exciting life was really on the cards for me, and I needed that stimulation. And so the hardest thing was making that call, sitting down with my boss. She was amazing, very supportive. We did it right. I was actually given 6 months of health care. They covered my health. I quit my job and was given 6 months of post termination health care because we did it right. We transitioned, we found the replacement, we trained the replacement, we took our time. But that was the hardest thing because that was walking away from comfort. It was walking away from the known thing. And at the time, I had no plan. When I quit Procter& Gamble, I had zero prospects. I had not cultivated a plan or an idea. I had absolutely no idea what I was about to do. And
Yeah.
luckily, the phone rang, and I started doing some consulting, which led to management, my own management firm, and ultimately my own consulting firm. So it all played out naturally the way it was supposed to. But at that very moment, a little terrifying and also liberating, right? To just
Yeah.
burn the house
Yeah.
down, so to speak. She used a Texas. She's from Texas, my boss, and she used a phrase. I can't remember the exact phrase, but basically, I was going to basically mow the grass down to the dirt and see what grows. Yeah, okay, great. Basically,
Yeah.
burn the field and see what pops
Yeah.
up, right? Yeah.
I love that. If you go back to your 25-year-old self, what would one piece of brutally honest advice would you give to yourself?
Yeah, and I need to give this more. I do try to encourage people. I will say that the real unlock to success is a network. It is mentorship and mentee. So
Mm.
seek mentorship, seek insight, seek external perspective. And I don't mean validation. Don't surround yourself with people that are going to tell you how amazing you are and how great your idea is. Find people who will argue with you, who will be the dissenting conversation. They may love you, they may appreciate you, they may respect you, they may believe you, and they may
Mhm.
encourage you, and they may be supportive of you. But if they're also willing to tell you all the ways it could go wrong and all the things you need to think about and how you haven't thought some of those things through, you need that to help you grow. And so it is the network effect. It is a community. So build a community, get people around you from different perspectives within and with outside your industry or your niche or your specialty area, and lean into that because you will only get to the highest potential by having not only support but challenges and a variety of voices in your life. And trust me, people want to help other people succeed. And a phrase somebody told me about 5 years ago was, tell everybody what it is you're trying to do, what it is you're
Yeah.
trying to accomplish, and then tell them what you need. I'm trying to do
Mhm.
this. This is my goal. This is where we're trying to get to. This is what we're working on. What I need to get there are these things because I don't know them, right? You cannot know everything. I need help in understanding in these areas. Do you know somebody who might want to advise me, be a mentor, be on my board, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera? I still
Yeah.
do it today. I'm a CEO. Great. We have 550 plus locations. Great. We're growing in multiple countries. Fantastic. But I still look to people who have done similar things and are in organizations larger or have grown things bigger than I have. I need to learn from them. I'm still not there.
Mhm.
You're never there, so to speak. So
Yeah,
that's my
I love
biggest
that.
advice.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. If I could go back to my 25-year-old self, I would have joined. I'm in a mentorship right now, but if I could go back, I would have just talked to other, industry people who have scaled beyond me.
Yep.
Yeah, I could kick myself in the rear end if I would. We were
It's
stubborn.
life lessons,
I
right?
know.
And now,
Yeah,
look,
I
now we
know.
have podcasting and we have all these
I
other
know.
things where you hear people
Yeah,
say, look,
yeah.
take this advice. You're not going to climb this ladder by yourself and reach where you're trying to get to. And certainly, look, it's about acceleration, amplification, and look, I don't care who you are and what you think you're going to achieve. Um, the path is not straight. You're
Yeah.
not going to go from A to Z without going through all the other letters of the alphabet. And some of those are lefts, rights, reverses, start overs, start
Mhm.
agains. And you're probably going to end up somewhere very different from where you thought if you went back and were honest with yourself about that starting point.
I agree. Is there anything you do differently if you had the chance to relive a part of your professional journey?
That's hard for me. I I think I would have started the journey that got me to where I am at this moment. I think I would have
Mhm.
pressed harder and sooner. I did take a lot of time to learn. I made look, I have made lateral, I have gone down, I've gone over, but in larger organizations, which might seem like a step up, but your position might be the same, but in a bigger org or a more complex org or more professional org. I was very patient in my 20s and early 30s to taste and test everything. I really wanted to be well-rounded. I kind of am a generalist. Well, I'm really good at three or four
Mhm.
things. I do have an understanding of the broader industry across a lot of sectors of the industry, and that has served me really well. So I was very patient and took my time in that education phase of my career, willing to take lower level jobs to learn that skill, that craft, that type of venue or that type of business. I've been in super yachts, Caribbean resorts, Michelin-level hotels, private clubs, single unit restaurants. I own restaurants. I'm an investor in other things. And so being a part of the entire ecosystem was important for my learning journey. But I may have taken a little longer than I should have to before I decided to kind of pick a direction and put the foot on the gas, honestly. But look, hindsight's hindsight. I'm
Mhm.
50 years old.
Yeah,
I got a good 20 years ahead of me of
yeah,
fun stuff and no regrets whatsoever.
yeah. I love that. What skill or quality separates someone who stays stagnant from someone who climbs the ladder?
Curiosity.
Mhm.
I'll add two words because you cannot climb and achieve what you're really trying to go for without empathy. So you have to have curiosity, and what that manifests for me when I read the book Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and I really cling to the phrase "seek first to understand, then be understood." Ask a lot of questions. Don't walk in a room and try to assert your knowledge and your experience and your ideas. Ask and seek others' perspectives, seek information and input, use that collective data to then form a more well-rounded, a better thought through comment or argument or whatever you're contributing to the space. But you cannot be successful meaningfully, and I think be proud of your success if you don't also exert empathy. Remember where you came from, and also try to
Mhm.
understand the people in the places that you affect that you don't understand. If you were never a dishwasher, it may be difficult for you to understand the plight of a dishwasher. But go spend some time understanding dishwashers and
I
and get to know them, right?
yeah.
And ask your team members what their ambitions and dreams and aspirations of life are. I'm so proud that so many employees, I've had over 1,000 employees in my career, that so many of those employees have gone on to be incredibly successful human beings pilots, business owners, doctors, blah, 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 just amazing human
Yeah.
beings. But we knew that the foundation started with scrubbing a toilet, I mean, mopping a floor, polishing glassware, whatever that was, right? And those were
Yeah.
foundational things they needed. But having empathy and then ultimately having tremendous curiosity is just a recipe for success, in my opinion.
What's something about your leadership style that has changed over the years?
Yeah, being very honest and very vulnerable with you and your audience, um,
Mhm.
it has evolved. And I used to spend a lot of mental time and effort on sort of crafting and
Mhm.
orchestrating, composing my leadership. Um, more strategically, right? Defined
Mhm.
and more strategically executed. I have allowed myself to get away from some of those tenets, those core principles, that effort, so to speak. And I've recently, in the last couple months, started to reflect on that and started
Mhm.
to essentially clear the decks, clear the air, calm the noise, get some things off my plate. Because as this organization grows, it needs that version of me more and
Mhm.
more. And I need to be a little bit less of a worker bee and start to be more of a strategic leader again.
Mhm.
And we're in a good place at Pepper Lunch for me to start to do that. And I have great encouragement from my leadership and a great support network on a global scale to afford me that opportunity. So actually, the next couple 3 months is really going to be focused on that. And I think I'll come out of that in the new year, um, sort of back to center and maybe a new version of what I envisioned that to be. So I think my message to the audience is, um, don't be afraid to look in the mirror. And if you don't really like where you happen to be in that moment, you have permission. And honestly, I have a directive. I have a mandate to get it right, to make the adjustments, to slow things down if we're going too fast and sort of not looking at the map. Whatever the case is in your business or in your life.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a 5 year cycle.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Yeah.
a job title cycle. I don't know, whatever the impetus for that moment is. I've been running pretty hard for 3 years, and we're getting to a size now, and we have some growth in front of us that's going to require a more strategic focus and a higher level leadership composition. And so I'm recommitting myself to that now. It's just coincidental timing to your question, but it's an important thing to be able to do.
Yeah. I'm not, I've changed my leadership styles too over the years too as we grow, right? Finally, what is one the best advice you ever got? What was from in your career? What was the best advice you ever got?
Uh, yeah. One was by example and one was by force or statement, right?
Mhm.
The reinforcement of seek first to understand, then be understood. I read that book in my 20s. I applied it in my 20s and 30s. It was really served me well at Procter and Gamble and beyond. I would say I got away from that. I got away from some of those tenets. And so I had a boss and a mentor, a really beautiful human being that I love very much. And he got in my face and said, "Look, you told me was your core values and that this was your leadership style, and it's not always manifesting." And I was, my chain was jerked a little bit. I had to swallow a pill a little bit there, a pride pill a little bit, and refocus myself in my mid 30s to really walk the talk, right? Doing a lot of talking, but wasn't really so. Him sitting me down and giving me tough love and saying, "I know who you are, and I know who you want to be, and I know that you are the
Mhm.
things you say you are, but you're letting external forces." Dictate your behavior, dictate your actions, dictate your execution, and you're allowing yourself to abandon your core values and tenets in your execution, and that's not serving you well. That's not going well for you. So sorry, but go look in the mirror and take my input, and I'm here to coach you and I'm here to support you. So that was a
Yeah.
beautiful experience, as tough as it was. And the other was by example. I had a mentor, a coworker who really didn't realize she was a mentor, but her actions, her leadership style taught me more about what empathy looks like rather than the academic understanding of empathy. And I've told the story a few times, but not often enough. One day we had a server, a lead server, who had been this exemplary person in Breckenridge, Colorado, and so she'll know who this is if she hears this. And she was just the picture perfect employee. And in this is a turnover business. You go through 3 staffs a year. It's seasonal, right? And it's in a ski environment. And we were running a pretty nice, finer casual restaurant. And she was just for a couple of months there, just amazing. And all of a sudden, call outs, lates, uniform messy, behavior, attitude change, something was wrong. And where normally a leader, a manager would pull somebody in and have somewhat of what you might think of a disciplinary conversation about the symptom, what we're seeing as the manifestation. She sat knee to knee with this young lady, and I was present as the witness, right? The second manager. And
Yeah.
she went knee to knee, leaned into this young lady, and just looked at her and said, "Are you okay?" And the girl's like, "Yeah, of course, of course." Defense is up. No, no. Honestly, what's going on with you? Something's not right. Are you okay? I'm worried about you. Oh my God. Unlocked everything. Just the waterworks,
Yeah.
the I was choked up when it was a therapy session. And the reality was there was something wrong back at home. She felt guilty for not being there to support a emergency, so to speak, or a circumstance change back at home. She was a young lady. She felt herself very mature, but she was struggling being away from home, doing this, trying to have this moment for herself while feeling like she abandoned. And so it just manifested into these symptomatic behaviors. And it just taught me that not everything is on the nose, not everything is a disciplinary moment. There is an underlying core problem to address. And boy, have I applied that in so many things, not just in human support and management, but in many, many things in my career where I step back and I look at for the core causation of something and try to solve that rather than continuously, repetitively address symptomatic manifestations of things. So anyway, long answer, but 2 points that I think are important.
No, I think it was that first of all, that's an amazing story. So yes, thank you. Well, that's a wrap of today's episode of the Leadership Lounge. I hope you're leaving with a spark of inspiration and a few ideas worth carrying into your own journey. Be sure to follow us for more conversations that
Keep the energy going. Thank you so much, Troy.
Thanks, Cindy. So glad to be here.